Most automatic car drivers are slowly destroying their cars without even realizing it. We're exposing 12 common mistakes that quietly kill your transmission, overheat your engine, and drain your wallet. Stick with me until the end of the video, where I've prepared a bonus tip for you that is so simple, but if you avoid it, you can save a $7,000 repair bill. Let's start with the most common mistake: shifting from reverse to drive without stopping. You're backing out of a parking spot. You're in a rush. The car is still rolling slightly in reverse when you throw it into drive. This one split-second decision is one of the fastest ways to wreck your transmission. When you shift from reverse to drive or vice versa while the car is still moving, you're not just changing gears, you're forcing the transmission to instantly reverse the flow of power while everything inside is still spinning in the opposite direction. Think of it like sprinting full speed and suddenly trying to run backward without slowing down. Your knees wouldn't like that. Neither does your transmission. What actually happens inside? Your clutches, planetary gears, and internal components get slammed with pressure. The result? Premature wear, slipping, jerky shifts, and eventually a total breakdown. And here's the kicker: you might not notice the damage right away, but months later, you'll be wondering why your car hesitates, grinds, or refuses to move. So here's the fix: always come to a full stop before changing directions. It adds maybe 2 seconds to your day, but it could add years to your transmission's life. Let's now talk about the one button most drivers ignore and why it's a ticking time bomb. Mistake number 2, not using the parking brake. You park your car, shift into P, and walk away. Easy. That's what park is for, right? Well, not exactly. Here's what most drivers don't realize. When you put your automatic car in park without using the parking brake, the entire weight of your vehicle rests on a tiny metal pin inside the transmission. It's called the parking pal, and it's about the size of your pinky. That tiny piece is the only thing keeping your 2-ton car from rolling down a hill. And if your car gets nudged, bumped, or settles unevenly, snap. You've got a broken pawl, a stuck transmission, and possibly a lawsuit if it rolls into someone else, and it gets worse on hills. Gravity pulls on the entire drivetrain, forcing it to lock up under tension. That pressure doesn't just damage the parking mechanism, it can twist and stress internal transmission components. The fix? Use your parking brake every single time you park. It doesn't matter if it's flat, sloped, or your driveway. That brake holds the weight of the car, not the transmission. You'll notice the gear shifter moves more smoothly next time too. Why? Because the load isn't jamming the mechanism anymore. And here's a bonus: using the parking brake regularly keeps it from rusting or seizing up over time. So you're protecting 2 systems, not just one. Mistake number 3, driving in D all the time, even on hills. Most drivers leave their automatic in drive and forget about it. Makes sense, right? That's what D is for. But here's the catch: when you're driving downhill, especially on long or steep descents, leaving your car in drive forces the transmission to do all the braking, using friction instead of compression. That creates excessive heat, wears down your brake pads, and overworks the transmission fluid. Let's break that down. Automatic transmissions rely on fluid pressure to shift gears and protect moving parts. But when you're constantly riding the brakes while coasting downhill, you're not just overheating your rotors, you're heating the transmission system too. That fluid, it starts to thin out and lose its protective qualities. And once that fluid breaks down, it's open season on your clutches and internal gears. Here's what you should do instead. Use the L, low, or 2 gear setting when going down steep hills. This forces the transmission to stay in a lower gear and lets your engine do some of the braking, a technique known as engine braking. It's smoother, safer, and keeps your fluid cool. Bonus, your brake pads will thank you too. And don't worry, you can switch to L or 2 on the fly as long as you're not flooring it. Your car was built to handle it. Next one is huge, a mistake that happens before you even leave the driveway, and it's something drivers do more often in winter. Mistake number 4, warming up the car the wrong way. It's cold outside. You start your car, leave it idling in park for 10 minutes, maybe sip your coffee while it warms up. Sounds responsible, right? Actually, it's doing more harm than good, especially for your automatic transmission. Here's why. Modern engines and transmissions are designed to warm up faster while driving, not idling. When you let your car sit there, parked and idling, all you're doing is burning extra fuel, increasing carbon buildup, and delaying the warm-up process. And the transmission? It warms up slower than the engine. While you're idling, the transmission fluid is just circulating lazily, not doing any real work, which means the internal parts stay cold, stiff, and vulnerable to wear. The worst part? Idling in cold weather causes condensation to form inside the exhaust and engine, which can lead to long-term corrosion. It also washes raw fuel into the cylinders, thinning your oil over time. So here's the right way to warm up your car. Start it. Wait about 30 seconds, just enough to stabilize the idle and build oil pressure. Then gently drive. That light driving helps the engine and transmission reach optimal temperature faster and with less wear. And no, blasting the heat at full power doesn't help either. That just draws warm coolant from the engine before it's fully warmed up. Next one is a mistake that's so quiet most people don't notice it until it's too late. It starts with the color of a fluid. and ends with a total transmission rebuild. Mistake number 5, ignoring your transmission fluid's condition. When was the last time you checked your transmission fluid? For most people, the answer is never, and that's a problem. Just like engine oil, transmission fluid breaks down over time. It's responsible for cooling, lubricating, and creating the hydraulic pressure that shifts gears smoothly. But when that fluid gets old, dirty, or overheated, it loses its protective properties and starts turning into sludge. That's when things go downhill fast. You might start noticing hesitation when shifting slipping gears, or even a faint burning smell after driving. That's your car screaming for help. And here's the golden rule. Change your transmission fluid every 30 to 60,000 miles, depending on your car's make and model. Waiting too long can lead to overheating, clutch damage, and an expensive transmission replacement. Next mistake, which thousands of drivers make thinking they're saving gas when in reality, they're quietly damaging one of the most sensitive systems in the entire transmission. Mistake number 6, shifting to neutral at stoplights. You're sitting at a red light, foot on the brake, engine humming, and you think, why not shift to neutral? Maybe I'll save a little gas and give the transmission a break. Sounds logical, but it's dead wrong. Here's why. Modern automatic transmissions are designed to stay in drive during stops. When you shift to neutral and then back to drive repeatedly, especially in traffic, you're actually interrupting the hydraulic pressure inside the transmission, causing small surges of wear every time you re-engage the gear. And there's more. Some systems rely on fluid pressure that's only maintained properly while in drive. When you pop it into neutral, you risk dropping that pressure, starving key components of lubrication even for a few seconds. And here's the myth buster. Modern engines already optimize fuel consumption at idle, so shifting into neutral won't save gas, but it will add unnecessary stress to your transmission over time. So, what's the right move? Keep your foot on the brake, keep the car in drive, and wait. Your transmission will thank you. Mistake number 7, flooring the gas from a stop. That hard launch from a standstill, it's not just bad for fuel economy, it's a torque converter's worst nightmare. Here's what's really happening. When you floor the accelerator from a dead stop, your transmission has to instantly channel maximum power through the torque converter and into the gear system. This creates a huge spike in heat and pressure, especially in city driving where it happens often. Internal clutches, they start slipping. Transmission fluid, it overheats and loses viscosity. The end result? Shuddering, delayed shifts, and permanent damage to one of the most expensive parts of your car. And it doesn't matter how powerful your engine is, your transmission still has to deliver that power safely. Hammering the gas over and over is like making someone sprint full speed every 10 minutes without a warm-up. Eventually, something snaps. So what's the fix? Smooth acceleration not only protects your transmission, it makes your car feel more refined and saves fuel at the same time. And here's a pro tip. If your car feels sluggish unless you floor it, something else might be wrong, like dirty transmission fluid, a bad sensor, or clogged injectors. Now let's explore what happens when you tow a trailer, a boat, or even just a heavy load, without doing one simple upgrade. If your car doesn't have this, towing could cook your transmission in minutes. Mistake number 8, towing without a transmission cooler. Your SUV says it can tow, your truck has a hitch. So you hook up a trailer, a boat, maybe even a small camper, and hit the road. But here's what most drivers don't realize. Even if your vehicle is rated to tow, it doesn't mean it's fully equipped to handle the heat, and towing generates a lot of it, especially if you live in a hot climate or tow uphill. Automatic transmissions are extremely sensitive to temperature. The more strain you put on them, like pulling thousands of pounds of extra weight, the hotter the fluid gets. And once that fluid crosses about 220 degrees Fahrenheit, it starts to break down fast. At 260 degrees Fahrenheit, you're doing permanent damage in minutes. Here's the scary part. Many vehicles don't come with a dedicated transmission cooler, even if they have a tow rating. Instead, they rely on a small built-in cooler inside the radiator, which often isn't enough under load. You can ask me, how then I can protect my car? Install an auxiliary transmission cooler is the answer. They're cheap, easy to install, and can drop your transmission fluid temps by 30 to 50 degrees. That's the difference between long life and early failure. And don't forget, even short-distance towing, like pulling a trailer to the hardware store, can still cause spikes in transmission temperature, especially in stop-and-go traffic. Bottom line, if you're towing anything more than a light bike rack, get a cooler. Your future self and your wallet will thank you. Mistake number 9, driving with mismatched tire sizes or tread. Tires are tires, right? As long as they roll and hold air, you're good to go? Not exactly. Here's what most drivers don't realize. Even small differences in tire size or tread depth, especially on four-wheel drive vehicles, can quietly wreak havoc on your transmission and drivetrain. Here's how. When your tires aren't perfectly matched, each one spins at a slightly different speed. That tiny difference forces your transmission, differential, and transfer case to compensate constantly, thinking something's wrong. Imagine jogging with one shoe slightly hicker than the other. You'll feel off balance the entire time. Now imagine doing that for thousands of miles. That's what your transmission goes through. This constant internal correction leads to extra heat, uneven wear, confused traction control systems, and eventually, mechanical failure. And it's not just about tire size. Even if the tires are technically the same model, if one is brand new and the others are half-worn, the rolling diameter is still different. That's enough to trip up sensitive systems in modern vehicles. So what's the fix? Always replace your tires in pairs at minimum. Ideally all 4 at once, especially for 4-wheel drive systems. Stick to the manufacturer's recommended size. No experimenting with close enough, and regularly check your tread depth. If one tire is wearing faster, get your alignment and suspension checked before it spreads the damage. Your tires might be the only part of your car that touch the road. But if they're mismatched, they'll take your transmission down with them. Now we're about to talk about the early warning signs of transmission failure and why acting fast can save you thousands. Mistake number 10, ignoring early warning signs. Your car starts acting different. The gear change takes a second longer. You feel a soft clunk when shifting. Maybe you hear a faint whine, or worse, a burning smell after a long drive, and you think, hey, it's probably nothing, still drives fine. That thought, it's the beginning of the end. Automatic transmissions are smart but fragile. They give off subtle warnings before they fail. And ignoring them is one of the biggest mistakes you can make. Here are some red flags that something's going wrong. Delayed shifting or hesitation when changing gears. Jerky transitions between drive and reverse. Unusual noises like whining, grinding, or buzzing. RPMs climbing too high before shifting. Transmission fluid leaks or a burnt smell. And most telling of all, check engine light paired with sluggish performance. This signs is your car's way of telling you, help me now or pay later. Because here's what usually happens. You ignore the signs. The damage gets worse. What could have been a $200 sensor replacement becomes a $5,000 plus rebuild, or a new transmission altogether. So what should you do? Get a scanner tool or go to a shop and pull the error codes. Check your transmission fluid's color and level. Don't delay. Even one extra week of damage could mean the difference between a small fix and a major failure. Catching transmission issues early isn't just smart, it's cheap. Okay, now we're heading into the #1 killer of automatic transmissions. More than towing, more than rough driving. This single mistake has totaled more vehicles than anything else on this list. Let's talk about heat and why it's your transmission's worst enemy. Mistake number 11, letting the car overheat. If there's one thing your automatic transmission cannot tolerate, it's heat. Excessive heat is the #1 reason transmissions fail. Not age, not mileage, not even hard driving. Here's what most people don't realize. Your transmission shares its cooling system with your engine. So when your engine overheats, whether it's from low coolant, a failing radiator, or just stop-and-go traffic in summer, your transmission is cooking too. And once transmission fluid gets too hot, it breaks down. It loses viscosity, it can't protect moving parts anymore. At around 220 degrees Fahrenheit, fluid begins to degrade. At 260 degrees, internal seals start to harden and crack. And by 300, you're looking at total transmission failure. That means warped clutch packs, damaged valves, and a repair bill that could total your car, especially if it's older. So what can you do? Regularly check your coolant level. Don't let it run low. Flush and replace engine coolant as recommended by your manufacturer. Make sure your radiator fans are working. Avoid idling with the AC blasting in extreme heat. And most importantly, if your temperature gauge spikes, pull over immediately. Do not keep driving just to get home. That one decision can cook your transmission in minutes. Heat sneaks up slowly, but when it hits, the damage is instant and often irreversible. You've made it through the 11 worst mistakes, but we're not done yet. There are one more bonus mistakes that even careful drivers make, and it starts with a bottle of the wrong fluid. Mistake number 12, using the wrong transmission fluid. Imagine you're low on fluid. You stop by the auto parts store. You see a bottle that says Universal ATF. Sounds safe, right? It's not. Using the wrong transmission fluid is like putting diesel in a gasoline engine. It might seem fine at first, but the internal damage starts almost immediately. Every automatic transmission has specific requirements for fluid viscosity, friction modifiers, and additives. These aren't just marketing gimmicks. They're engineered to match the unique timing, pressure, and materials inside that particular transmission. When you use close enough fluid or a generic brand that doesn't meet OEM specs, you risk slipping gears, harsh or delayed shifting, seal breakdown, and internal leaks, and eventually total failure. The damage may not show up right away, but over the next few months, your car will start shifting rougher, running hotter, and wearing down faster, all because the chemistry was off. And get this, some dealerships have even denied warranty coverage just because the wrong fluid was used during service, even if the bottle said it was compatible. So here's the fix. Always use the exact transmission fluid recommended in your owner's manual. Not just the same color, not just multi-vehicle. If you're not sure, call your dealership or trusted mechanic. And if someone else is doing the work, double-check the bottle before they pour. Transmission fluid isn't something you want to guess and check. Avoiding these mistakes isn't just good driving, It's the difference between a car that lasts and a car that quits. It will help you save thousands on repairs, drive smooth, and keep your automatic running like new for years to come. If this helped you out, give it a like and hit subscribe. If I forget something, let me know in the comments. Drive smart, drive safe, and keep your car running. Until next time.